Okay, guys, we are vital. Just to reiterate, our challenge is to develop a solution that promotes communication and collaboration between government agencies such as the DoD and State Department, NGOs like Doctors Without Borders and the Red Cross, first responders, and victims. We are currently working on developing a mobile app that would crowdsource the status of victims, infrastructure, and other aspects of the environment. We've also incorporated the supply chain in that. Okay, so I'm Emma. I'm a nursing major.
I'm Jackie. I'm public policy.
I'm Will, writing rhetoric.
Adam, engineering.
I'm Cedar in biology. So our problem statement is just like last week. We kept narrowing it down. So we narrowed down to header operatives cannot locate other first responders and victims, locate where, when, what critical supplies, and track supplies that are actually delivered to people in need. And as a result, information, time, and resources are wasted, especially lives.
Okay, so for the persona profiles, I reworked this a lot. I wasn't seeing the value in just arbitrarily grabbing different jobs and highlighting them to represent what they did. The point is to show how all these different organizations and agencies work together and how there's so many different organizations working together in the problem. So I kind of went back to its roots and broke it down at a more basic level with the help of some input from our sponsors. So it really boils down to two types of people. There's people who need help, which are the victims, and people who can provide help. And actually, Commander Satzel wanted us to start thinking about a different word rather than victim, which I thought was interesting, because in an affected area, not necessarily everybody is a victim per se. But so anyway, so for those people who can provide help, if it's within that host nation, there's obviously going to be a different set of help versus overseas affairs. So in terms of those that can provide help domestically, that's where you have your medical personnel. Obviously, there's such a huge wide range of, different physicians and EMTs that would be needed based on the injury. There's technology involved, communication, first responders, water and sanitation. And another thing that I kind of took out as of now, and I'm sure I'll get some feedback on that, is rather than look at age, so like instead of saying a chief intelligence officer has to be 25 or 50, I just want them to be technology literacy. So it's like, oh, well, he's too young or he's too old. Looking more at their abilities rather than their age. And then overseas, that's where you can start to see your NGO, military, DoD, UN. These are same as last week. Oh, no, it was on.
Okay, so our interview takeaways. So we're looking into urban search and rescue. We should not just focus on the flags, we want to focus on victims. I know last week we talked about how there was another app that's doing that, but we want to build basically a one-stop shop, everything that they do plus more. And then the solution solves the problem not having real access to information right now. The information can be hours old at best. We want to cut that down to like as fast as you get tweets and Snapchats and all that. Sorry about this for this week. Where a solution should focus more on supply movements more than people. That was invalidated. We want to strike a balance and have a one-stop shop, like I just said. Our primary users will be directors and first responders. That was validated. And we'll move on to the VPC and planning with directors and the main audience. And we should have one app for first responders and one app for directors. That was validated. Although we can have them work together, we kind of think their needs are so different, we want two separate apps.
So a few things got added to our value proposition canvas. For customer jobs, we added someone who tracks task progress. Most likely going to be the same person who's giving those same tasks, but tasking it is another job all of itself, and it's still very important as a distinct task. So our new game creator is essentially constant knowledge of task process. That's our biggest example is probably going to be something along the lines of tracking the delivery of supplies. That's going to be a sizable focus of our app now. And another thing is going to be for a ping deliver live updates to the mapping system, because lags in the information flow can lead to problems, especially if they're trying to make decisions in the moment as to what's going to be going where.
We had no updates to our mission model canvas this week. and no updates to our customer workflow. So our future plans, I spoke with a firefighter in the Fairfax County Fire Department this week, and he recommended contacting their urban search and rescue team. It's one of 3, I think, in the world that deploys nationally or internationally. So I reached out to them. Hopefully we'll hear a response soon, and we'll be able to talk more to them next week. We want to further develop our app and send it out to interviewers. We want to do A and B testing, so kind of like a Google survey. What screen do you like better? What functionalities would you like? Stuff like that. And then we are also setting up an interview on Monday to interview one of the founders of the Google Crisis Response Organization.
All right, so we made some changes to our MVP. We realized we want our app to crowdsource from the public, but the app is basically going to be for first responders and then possibly one for directors. So each first responder would have their own sign up, login, username to verify what organization they work for. And then obviously it's tracking their location every time they're in the app. And then to the home page, it's going to be map based like it was before. There's going to be, so if you I'm just going to walk over here. If you go over here to the menu, there's going to be map overlays. So we had icons of
Everything all at once.
everything. So you can basically choose to view all, view just resources in the region, if you want to see where the Red Cross is in the region, and then if you want to see where the crowdsourced data is. You choose that, and then, so these are basically the options. So if you want to just see the crowdsourced data, you see 200 people need water in that location, a road is impassable in this location. And then if you go on the resources part, it'd be Red Cross has tents set up here, National Guard is here with 1,000 troops, something along those lines. And then it would also track the locations of all the groups in the area, like NGOs, military, Red Cross. We're not exactly sure if we want to track individuals or just big groups and their resources. And then obviously, it's not going to be words, it's going to be symbols like a helicopter, an ambulance, driving around. And then something that we thought of was tasking the first responders based off location of the crowdsourced data where they need help, and then where the first responders are and what resources they have. So the app would automatically task the first responders, and it would show them exactly where to go.
And that's it.
That's your timer. Great job. Feedback?
Yep.
You said that you needed 2 different apps. Can you explain why?
So basically, if you have say you have a firefighter who there's a tractor trailer hit a bus, and they want to know, okay, who are the people involved? What kind of injuries are we looking at? Blah blah blah. Whereas the director is going to be okay, is there a location for me to land a helicopter? Where it's just 2 people with 2 different kind of priorities.
And one thing, we don't want to overwhelm first responders with, a ton of data on one app. So we're still figuring out which data is going to go to directors, and, probably, the tasking would just go to first responders on the ground.
One thing we were thinking about is you putting your job and then restricting what data you can see. So obviously firefighters don't need to see everything their dispatcher needs to see, right? So that's also one thing one app puts different filters.
Right, because I think you're talking about a database of information where the director's got access to multiple filters, probably on a desktop, right? Not in an app.
Yeah.
I think maybe the nomenclature is actually, the way you're actually describing it, it's you've got one app, but you've got a database of information over which
Yeah.
Like a
the
website.
director has got all of the
User interface.
Yeah, so I think that might be just a little glitch, not a glitch, but just a thing that needs better explanation.
Yeah.
One app,
Yeah.
that's pinging at a database and
Right.
pulling information depending on the audience.
So my question with all that is there a database with all this information? Where is the app pulling from? Where's all that stuff coming from to populate your app?
Well, the first responders would have to update with what resources are where, and someone would have to track that logistically. And then the crowdsourced data, we're still working with the SMS texting
So I guess I'm wondering where all that information is, and
Right.
is that a challenge?
Yeah, we're looking into the NIM system, which is what the Fairfax County Fire Department uses. We haven't looked into that really at all, but.
I think that's going to flesh out the story for you in terms of the back end.
Yeah.
So there's a book that I'm reading right now called The Starfish and the Spider that talks about generating buy-ins and community, and that's what needs to happen if you want your first responders feeding information into your database. I put it in the comments too, but it might be something I can gift it to you through Audible, and if somebody has the time to walk and listen to it, it might give you some insight on how to have the community that's using your app take ownership of contributing that data.
Yeah, because a really big problem that the firefighter I talked to said was they go into situations pretty much blind. They get a text description of what they're going into, but they don't entirely know. And so he said a platform like this where he would be able to look at and physically see what was going on and locations and things like that would be super helpful.
And I should mention that it was Erica that sent me the book.
Well, and actually it was your sponsor, Paul, who recommended it.
I'll come around.
I have a weird question that just occurred to me and may not be within this semester, but I was thinking, what would happen if you could marry your app to digital overlays, battleground, sort of synopsis where you're looking at layers of data, and instead of a battleground, you see the area that is requiring rescue?
That's a really cool idea. I see a lot of parallels with their actually, yeah.
We have to talk to them.
And in terms of resources like ambulances and hospitals and all that, I think Google will provide you most of that.
Well, actually, Ushahidi is we talked to a guy named Shadrach Roberts, and Ushahidi is a product that he developed with open source coding. He has all sorts of mapping and things like that
And actually,
should be available.
one of the members of Team Rubicon said he doesn't even like Ushahidi. Said Ushahidi's tries to do too much and not super well.
But you're beginning to focus really nicely on a particular delivery system, and that will limit the number of layers on the map that you'll need to show. So there'll be a nice kind of street. You're getting there. You're really getting there.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's really going well. But definitely, I think you need to fill out that story on the database and how all the information works in the background and the different kinds of.
Yeah, we've been working. It's kind of like we've been streamlining so much. We need to get to the technology part of it.
All right, great job, guys. 1, 2, 3.